Is it true Hawaiians hate American tourists?
I wouldn't say hate. I would say that it is disturbing sometimes. It's like if you're driving on the highway and you kind of deal with those kind of a-holes that are on the highway, it's kind of the same feeling. So the first property I went in on was a condo. We ended up buying a condo for $300,000. We put about $30,000 into it. In 30 days, the renovation was quick. We sold it in 15 days to a cash buyer, and I netted $103,000.
Wow.
Sign me up. All right, welcome back to the Digital Social Hour, guys. I'm your host, Sean Kelly. Here with my co-host, Charlie Cavalier. And our guest today, real estate expert, Zasha. How's it going?
Hello, everybody.
Man, real estate's been something I've been slacking on, so I'm excited to talk to you about it.
Me too.
How did you get started?
Well, I started working as a civil engineer for 10 years and then was one of those typical people who are working 60 to 70-hour weeks and looking for an alternative of I wanted to quit my job. It wasn't something that I was passionate about. And started like any millennial, started Googling, how to quit your job and get rich, and found real estate.
It paid off.
Yeah.
Became a millionaire off real estate.
Civil engineer. What were you making?
I was making $60,000 a year.
Oh, no. I mean, like, what were you designing?
Oh, so I did underground utilities for hotels, subdivision, shopping centers, and it was a real strenuous job.
That sounds like a lot of work for $60 a year.
I know.
And that's pre-tax, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like 40.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very degree-heavy job. Neither one of us can do that job. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Engineers, I mean, you got to respect engineers, though.
Immensely.
They're really smart.
They keep us alive.
Roadways and stuff. So I focus mostly on transportation, so traffic signal design, highway design.
Okay.
And I mean, I grew up on an island, so surprisingly, I mean, we still have some of those bigger roadways
Which
to
island?
work on too. On Maui.
Oh, in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard the U.S. transportation system isn't the best compared to other countries. Is that true?
No.
Like efficiency-wise?
Well, Maui is in the USA.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm saying like the U.S. as a country, like the railroad system is outdated.
Yeah, and they've been working on like a $10 million rail system forever. And
$10 million?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a lot.
Well,
for the whole country.
well, on a small island, it's a lot.
Oh, in Maui.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, California's been talking about building the train to go north-south for, 25 years now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now they're building a Hyperloop, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. I feel like that's efficient.
And then I'm in Nashville, where they literally do not have public transit because the property values all got too high downtown. Nobody wants to give up their commercial, real estate location to build a bus station or a rail transit or something like that.
Isn't there one in like Asia that's super fast? Train?
I believe.
Oh, like a bullet train.
A bullet
right?
train, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I
we
wish
need
we
more
had
of
one
that.
of those, man.
Right.
So where do you see, or how did you go from civil engineering to real estate, and did the civil engineering aspect of all of your knowledge start like influencing how you invested in real estate?
Definitely. I think for me, being able to run by a schedule and being able to budget for these big, $17 million projects helped me with the smaller projects and the aspects of running a team or managing contractors, because we were doing it on such a high level that when I took on these projects myself, it was a little bit easier.
Interesting.
And what was the first property you went in on? And was it alone or were you with a group of people?
So the first property I went in on was a condo, and because I didn't want to worry about the structural components of the roof and the flooring and things like that. So whenever you buy a condo, the HOA, the homeowners association, is in charge of maintaining the exterior. So essentially it's just like an interior renovation, but we removed all the cabinets, we ripped everything out, and then basically put it back in all new. And for me, because I was still working full time, I didn't want to go and buy like a huge fixer upper. I said, okay, maybe I'll try this real estate investing thing, see how it turns out. And because condos are a little bit cheaper than regular homes, it was less of a risk in my mind. And so we ended up buying a condo for $300,000. We put about $30,000 into it. In 30 days, the renovation was quick. We sold it in 15 days to a cash buyer, and I netted $103,000.
Wow.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
down.
Well, that's where the light bulb was, because I was only making $60,000 as a civil engineer,
Right.
Yeah.
working like
You made
hundreds
double
of
that
hours.
in 1 month.
Yeah.
You made
So
100,000.
my husband told me, like, why don't you just do that? I was like, yeah, that's true. So
Wow. Yeah, so fix and flips,
Mhm.
those I've heard are risky though.
they are. Yeah.
Because-
Depending what market you're in.
Yeah,
So
'cause
if you're
some-
in an appreciating market like California, Hawaii, some parts of Florida or New York, you know, those expensive markets, the potential to make more profit is a lot higher.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because I've seen times on TV shows where they buy a house and then it's like infested or something. Like all this crazy stuff can happen, so you never know.
Well, that's why I started with condos. Even my first rental was a condo because
Really?
I didn't want to really deal with any of that.
Yeah,
It's that much more of a headache to deal with the house than a condo.
Definitely.
because it's just more money, so you're risking more, I think. in the
Well, and a
market.
lot of times, depending on what state you're in, there's a lot of issues with permitting. So I bought a house that I'm sitting on, and this is like one of the nightmare stories that nobody likes to talk about. But I've had to hold on to this house for 2 years, paid holding costs, a mortgage, and everything. That's a fixer-upper that needs to be demoed, and then
You have to
into a new
demo the whole
house.
thing?
Yeah,
Why?
because it's in a well. First of all, the issue we ran into was it's in a historic area, even though it's in the middle of a residential area. It's in Wailuku, which is considered historic, so it has to go through the State Historic Preservation Division.
Jeez.
So that's what's holding it up right now.
And they're just taking their time.
Wow.
2 years later.
Whenever you have to deal with the state or county offices, there's no limit. They'll set projected dates where they have to review, but they just keep extending. So that's why
Wow.
it's really important to know the permitting, how the permitting flow goes
Yeah.
in whatever county, city, state that you're
That
investing
seems
in.
so inefficient. Like there
It
has to
is.
be a better way, like online or something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is most everything you do in Maui or in Hawaii in general?
Majority. So I started fixing and flipping in 2019, and then just last year I ventured into out of state. So I do have a couple flips here out in Vegas. We just opened our first midterm rental, so that's where I'm staying now, which is
Nice.
kind of exciting. Now I know why people have multiple properties, you know, second homes, because it's kind of nice to just go into a home and it's yours. You can do
Yeah.
whatever you want.
So you were in Hawaii your whole life?
Yeah, I'm born and raised
Nice.
on Maui.
Hawaiian food's good, bro.
I used to go. It's funny. I used to go to Maui every December for the Pacific Rim Conference with my family. So it's beautiful. Like,
Nice.
I'm super jealous. Like it is the most beautiful place in
It
the
is.
country.
I've
I
never
just
been.
got asked. I got asked a few times to move back out to not move back. I got asked a few times to move out to Vegas for some opportunities to
Yeah.
be, you know, take over some businesses, and I was like, well, I'm already where I want to be.
Nice.
So
You're already where most people want to be.
right,
Yeah.
Is it
and
tr-
making a good living. So,
Yeah. Can't complain on the beach sipping a pina colada.
you're right.
Now
It's
is
not
it
actually what I do. but-
Oh, okay. Is it true Hawaiians hate American tourists?
I wouldn't say hate. I would say that it is disturbing sometimes because they don't understand a lot of the cultural aspects. You know, the spirit of aloha is very eminent throughout the islands, and respect and just taking care of the land, not littering, those types of things, and just being courteous. You know, have you ever
Common
tried
sense.
to? Yeah, if it's like if you're driving on the highway and you kind of deal with those kind of a-holes that are on the highway, it's kind of the same feeling sometimes.
Interesting.
Well, and the history isn't as pleasant as we all want to pretend like it was. Like we essentially colonized Hawaii for sugar plantations, or there were certain plantations that
Yeah.
were in Hawaii. I think it was sugar plantations, right? And so it's not exactly like it was like a peaceful kumbaya, let's all come together and be one country. It was like, you're a strategically located island 6 hours off our mainland. Let's put a military base there. And by the way, we own you now.
Right. And there was a bunch of like bombings on the islands as well
Really?
that happened with the military. And so before Hawaii was a sovereign country, and then we were overthrown. They put our queen, locked her up in her home, and then forced her to sign the treaty in order for us to become a
Wow,
part
there
of
was a
America.
queen there at one point?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, a kingdom of
Really?
Hawaii.
Just took all that
We
away.
just took it all away, yeah.
God.
Because we wanted Pearl Harbor, really. I mean, amongst other things.
As a
but-
military base, because that was closer to Asia.
Well, it's the furthest. I mean, unless you're going to go all the way to Midway, Hawaii is the furthest main island in the Pacific that's at all reachable with one tank of gas and an airplane from mainland United States.
Wow. So back to the real estate stuff. A lot of people don't know where to start, like including us. I mean, I just feel like, did you have a mentor or anything when you got started, or you just did it on your own?
Yeah, so I bought my first flip and rental, and once I seen the cash flow and the profits, I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to do this full time. And so when I had done my first couple projects, I was working full time. I was running to Lowe's on my lunch break, Home Depot. I was meeting the contractors after work on the weekends. I was doing dump runs, like driving the loading truck. I was like, what am I doing? I just created another job, and that's not what I wanted. And so I had found out about Ryan Pineda, who lives here in Vegas. I had joined his mentorship. He was just starting off one, so I was one of the first students in his mentorship. I'm actually here this week for his mastermind. I'm going to be speaking at it on Wednesday.
Nice.
But the first mastermind he ever had was on his couch. There was about like 8 of us in the room, and we all kind of did a hot seat type of thing. Now it's like thousands of people go there, and it's, you know, Brandon Turner is going to be on at this one as well.
Yeah.
So it's turned out to be a pretty big thing, and proud of him. And also he takes care of the people who've been with him, you know.
Yeah. So
for
you
the
just
long time.
attributed the success to being part of the right group of people.
Yes, definitely.
a
A
mentor.
network. And then through being surrounded by people that are already doing it gave me the confidence to know, because I was still hanging on to my job, even though I made like more than I did at my job in 45 days. I was still like, oh, what about my health insurance? And what if I just got lucky? You know, what if the market tanks? And had all these worries and fears. But once I seen other people doing it at the scale they were, I was like, okay, I could do that too.
So from that first flip, you reinvested that money into more flips and just kept it going. And now do you take out loans from banks and stuff and just use other people's money?
Yes. So I mostly use private money, which is from everyday people that have a savings. There's no qualifications that you need. You just need money, and then you sign a note and lend it on other people's projects. But I found that to be helpful because it's more flexible. If you work directly with a bank or say even a hard money lender, which we still use, we do various things, but they have a lot of terms, like you have to meet certain DTI qualifications, you have to have a certain credit score, whereas private money is just based on your relationship with that person. And I've been able to raise like over $1 million just off social media in the last year.
That's very
That's been
impressive.
helpful too.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. You could buy a few houses with that.
Right? Yeah.
Do you do the 20% down payment model, or do you do less?
Less, yeah.
I was actually going to ask, what is the least amount you have ever put down percentage-wise to buy a house?
Zero?
Yeah.
You got to tell us how you do
Wait,
that.
I use all private money. So what
No, but you use some of
Oh.
their. So, like, what is the least amount? Like, so if the house was worth $1 million, right? Just I like round numbers. What
Right.
is the least amount of dollars you ever put down to buy a house?
okay, so you're talking about like getting creative with the
Yeah,
seller,
maybe
something
you only
that.
put 3% of the total value
Right,
down.
yeah.
or-
So when starting off, it was about 3%.
Okay.
How?
Because I was buying for my own home, and then
Yeah.
would move, sell that, like
Oh.
almost like live and flip style.
Yeah, your first home is 3%, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There's like a law. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm going to use that. But isn't there a limit on that? Like, if you want a $3 million house, I don't think that would work.
I
right?
think it depends on where you're at and then what your income is. So every state is different. So
Yeah.
I would check the laws. Even for me, I always leverage like HELOCs, home equity line of credit, on my investment properties. But I just recently found out that some states don't allow that on investment properties. They'll allow it on your primary residence, but not on investments. So
Interesting.
Now, walk us through creative financing, because I've seen some guys talk about this on social media. Like, they're able to get houses without putting up money, right?
yeah.
It's pretty crazy. I'd like to learn more about that.
Yeah, so there's a few different strategies. I have only used seller finance and novations, but there's also subject to, there's lease options, there's a whole gamut of different strategies. But with seller finance, you basically, if a seller owns a home outright, means it's paid off, there's no loans on it or no liens, then they can basically become the bank. And if you say, hey, I want to buy this house for $300,000, and they agree, now they put themselves as the lien holder, so the mortgage holder. Instead of paying a bank, you're going to be making monthly payments to the seller, and you can agree on whatever down payment that you want. It's up to you. So there's a lot of flexibility.
Wow.
And why sellers would do that who own homes outright is because a lot of times it's either been handed down through the family and nobody wants to do anything with it, and it'll just be extra money in their pocket, or they have to pay capital gains tax on that income or that down payment that they receive. That's why instead of $300,000, everybody's like, oh, why wouldn't they just get $300,000 cash? Why would they make a loan to you? And it's because a lot of times they'll have to pay 50 or 40% tax on that money.
what are some fees, taxes, like hidden expenses that people don't think about when they're buying a house that you got hit with on your first one and you were like, what is
Probably
that?
when you put less than 20% down, you have to pay a PMI. So I think it's a private mortgage insurance.
Mm.
And so that ends up being, well, depending on the price of the home, but I think for us, it was like an extra $200 a month.
Okay.
So that was a pretty good chunk of money.
Yeah.
To not
So if you
think
put down
about.
under 20%, there's a monthly fee basically.
Yeah.
And you know that?
I did not know that.
Mhm.
Interesting. Because you bought your house in
Outright,
full, right?
yeah.
I saw you're moving into commercial real estate now. What's the strategy there?
Well, so for me, because I started off fixing and flipping, I've done over 20 flips, made over $1 million on that. And it's been very successful. But with the market shifting, a lot of the single family homes or the fix and flips projects aren't turning out the way that they used to. So we're making a lot less money. We're having to pivot and turn some of the flips into rentals now. And it's just not as lucrative as it used to be. So now I'm wanting to be more passive as well. Like
Right.
fixing and flipping is a job, no matter how high up you get, no matter how big of a team you have. Even Ryan is still involved in that process, and he does hundreds of flips. So it depends on what you value. And for me, it was like, okay, why did I get into this? I had to take a step back last year and was like, why did I get into this? It was to have more time. And I just, again, created another job. I quit my job, created another job. So I'm heavily focused on building up my rental portfolio. I have 17 rentals now in
Nice.
Maui and then out of state, and became a part of a syndication, started investing in those last year. So it's funny because the terminology changes in whatever asset class or whatever strategy you pick. So a lot of times where I'm like part owner of 509 units, I think they would say you have like almost $100 million assets under management, but it really play a small portion in that.
Yeah.
So I think it's always good too for beginners to realize like a lot of things that people are saying, you have to kind of dive deeper into, okay, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, because you could own 0.5%, say you're
Right.
a lot of people
Versus
do
you
that
could
too.
own like my rentals I own myself is 100%, or I just bought an RV park with 2 other partners, but I'm 45% equity owner, and then an office building we just bought a few months ago as well.
Nice.
I'm half, we're 50-50 partnerships. So a lot of things to take into consideration is like, okay, well, when somebody says they own something, okay, how much of it do you actually own, and
Yeah,
how
tell
much
us
cash
the
flow are you
percent,
getting, right?
Wait, you
And-
said RV park you own?
Yeah.
Why
So-
do you do an RV park?
Well, so how I make majority of or find most of my deals are through partnerships, social media. Like I'm big on Instagram. I have
Yeah.
over 100,000 followers, not as much as you, but people come up to me in mentorships as well. Hey, Zasha, I have this deal. It's $1 million, and I've never bought something at this price point. And for me, I live in Hawaii. The median home price is 1.2 million. So I'm used
Damn,
to
Wow.
I didn't know
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
that. Wow.
What does 1.2 million get you in Hawaii?
a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
That's it?
Might be maybe from the early
3,000 square
2000.
feet?
Yeah, no.
No.
But are you on
Maybe
the,
like 1,200.
or are you on the water though?
No way.
Oh, that's not worth it.
So 1,200 square feet. We'll call it 15. I like round
Yeah,
numbers.
not a brand new home, just a regular size
Built in the
home.
70s.
Yeah,
3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1.2 million, no land.
maybe 5,000 square feet. Yeah,
That's not worth it. Plus the food's expensive
home.
there, right?
yeah.
It's everything because they got to ship it in.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why they call Las Vegas the 9th island, because a lot of people start moving from Hawaii to Vegas.
There's a lot of
'cause it's
Hawaiian
lot
restaurants
cheaper.
here, I noticed.
Really?
A lot. Every street, bro.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Hawaiians are big out here for sure.
Mhm. You got to get to know yourself.
I know. I need to.
Missing
And
out.
so we hear, like the last few years, especially since COVID has been crazy, right? I'm in Nashville. It's one of the hottest real
Mhm.
estate markets right now. We hear so many buzzwords about why people should or should not invest in real estate, right? Interest rates, property values, job markets going this way. Everyone's leaving California to go live in Austin or Nashville or whatever. What is probably the biggest misconception you see out there on social media when it comes to buying or investing or choosing a real estate investment?
The biggest misconception, I just see a lot of people losing money because they're just so quick to jump into something. Like
Right.
they see all these benefits and, oh, she made $1 million. And it was like, okay, over the course of the years and the last few years have been way better than, what it is right now.
Right.
So I think to caution people, always run your numbers conservatively And even if you have a comp, like go even less than that, because right now things are not selling it as fast as they were or for as much.
Yeah.
So I think the misconception is like, of course, even for me, I tell people there still are deals out there. They're just really hard to find and you need to stick to your numbers.
Right.
So I don't know that. I would think for a new person coming in, start with wholesaling, start with, working with an experienced investor, adding value to them that way. So you're not taking on all this risk yourself.
Yeah. When you go into a deal, what percentage profit are you trying to hit?
Probably about 30 to 40%, depending.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a very good margin.
Yeah, very solid. And you mentioned you have 17 rental properties right now, right?
Yeah.
I've seen articles that Airbnb is struggling a little bit. Do you see it rebounding, or do you think the market's just really soft right now for a while?
I think it's really soft because we've seen an uptick during COVID. And so everybody's numbers look great, right? Their P&Ls for the past few years. And like I was mentioning, even for flip profits, like we all looked amazing. But now, since it's slowing down and people are not traveling as much as far as like staying places, they'll be flying maybe out of the country. It might be cheaper to do that. But I own an Airbnb on Maui, and I think this past month I've seen a downtick, a pretty big one. And before I was bringing in probably, and this is a studio. It's a 300 square foot studio. I bought for around $330. And
wait, hold on. A 300 square foot studio that you
That's like a
bought
room.
for $350,000. Just so we're clear. Okay.
That's literally a room.
Just want to make sure I got those.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
probably this room.
I want to make sure I got all those threes properly in order. Okay.
Yeah. So you could fit the bathroom over here, the kitchen over there. So it's like almost like a hotel room size.
Okay.
And we bring in probably about 8,000 gross a month.
Wow.
So the net ends up being about $3,000.
Please tell me you can see the ocean.
Oh,
from
the next
this.
3. Okay.
The peekaboo ocean view.
Peekaboo ocean. Okay.
It's got an ocean view at least? Okay.
I never.
Well, like peekaboo.
Oh,
you
like
know?
far.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
you gotta.
I had no idea. I mean, it was expensive because it's an island, obviously, but I had no idea that it was so exponentially more expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone that has a house there is a millionaire, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right.
Insane. So the Hawaiians are balling. They're rich.
See, and that's
Or
weird.
they're moving to Vegas.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing is I often hear about the struggling, economy for the locals, for the people that live there.
Same.
But now you're telling me that if you want to own a house there, you're spending 7 figures. I feel like there's a gap here that I'm missing. Is it just because all of the money that they make has to go to provide for their own housing because it's also expensive over there? Or like, where is the gap between Hawaiians are in general struggling to the average house in Hawaii is over $1 million?
Well, that's why they're struggling because housing is so expensive.
Okay.
So and the gap is that a lot of times jobs are only paying minimum wage or, starting off at $15 to $20 an hour. So
Yeah,
people
because it's
have-
all like touristy jobs, right?
right.
It's like
Yeah.
service, like Vegas almost.
Right.
Highly dependent on the hotels and tips and all that. So if you're not working in the hotel industry, you are probably just barely getting by.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I know.
qualifying for $1 million home loan is not easy either.
Must be tough, right?
Mhm.
You probably need to make $250K a year.
Yeah. So that's why we started, I started doing affordable housing bus tours. I started teaching people how to go to tax lien auctions or tax deed auctions in Hawaii as well. Because for me as an investor, like of course I could always find more deals. It's great to make money, but it's more so about the impact as well that I'm having on the community because I am seeing people struggle. And if they see somebody, I'm Hawaiian, Filipino, German, Italian.
Wow.
So I am
It's a lot.
threw that out from nowhere. But I am part Native Hawaiian, so I want to help people see, like, yes, the land was wrongfully taken, but we are a part of America, and this is different ways that you can buy semi-affordable, homes. And there was just an auction happening on the Big Island in Hilo where 3 acres of land was selling for $2,800. Like the starting bids were that low.
Wow.
So,
That sounds cheap compared to the $1.2 million house
right.
average.
But it's on a different island that
okay.
nobody, like, there's hardly work there. So it would be difficult to, unless you have like an online job,
Is there internet?
try to, right? That's what you got to do. But it is a tax auction. So you have to wait. There's a 1-year redemption period before you can claim it. Can come back and pay their taxes and
long
then
time.
you'll be out of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So there are
that's-
some contingencies is what I would call it to
Yeah.
actually purchasing for that cheap. But
Have you ever gotten like a insane deal at one of those auctions?
I did for my own home, but it was a foreclosure auction, but not the tax auction.
Oh, okay. So you went to a foreclosure auction and got a really cheap house.
Yeah. I got my first house is actually, I bought it at a foreclosure auction. I was at the courthouse steps. I heard about like those types of auctions, but I never been to one.
Yeah.
And so I went to my first one and it was so competitive.
Really?
Yeah. There was like people eyeing me down. I was like, hey, is this where we stand for like the auction? And nobody would talk to me. And so I was like, okay,
You're the enemy. You're the enemy.
So I had to go to a few to figure it out and what they were all doing and how it all worked.
Wow.
And I ended up purchasing a house in 2018 from there for 400 and I think around 23,000. We put 80,000 into it, and we were gonna flip it, but then I didn't know about like the title issues. So it had a clouded title, means they're breaking a chain of ownership, and there was an open permit. So you can't. Nobody's gonna buy a house that has an open permit on it.
What's open permit mean?
So that means they started a permit for like maybe an addition for a home or adding on a section of the home or maybe upgrading, adding a bathroom or something.
Okay.
But then they never close it. So in order to close a permit, you have to have inspections done on the home. They have to pass building codes and all that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to modify your home, you just can't do that. You got to get a bunch of permission.
For if you're moving anything electrical or plumbing.
Electrical or plumbing.
And you have to check with your county and state regulations.
Yeah, I was going to say, it varies by
mentioned
state.
before.
One of my favorite stats, I'm originally from California. You have to have a permit as a general contractor to build a fence in the state of California.
Really?
In Tennessee, you and I could pop up in my backyard right now and just put a fence up.
Yeah, in Jersey, we had to get permission, I think.
Yeah.
From the county or something.
And so is Hawaii very strict when it comes to what it wants you to do to, I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
Preserve everything.
Like I mentioned before, that house that I'm sitting on, that it's a complete tear down, 2 years.
Just because they don't want you to tear the house down.
Yeah.
What do they want you to do? Restore it?
It's historical, right? It's not. It's in the middle of a neighborhood. It's termite eaten. It's falling down, and they just want you to go through the rigmarole and the hoops and loops to, I don't know why.
And there's never just like an accident where the house just accidentally falls down or anything
there
like that?
There are. So I've been able to get away with not getting permits and sell homes. But for this one, the old building inspector lives right across the street. So
jeez.
That's been an issue.
Now,
good luck.
Do you run background checks on your tenants? Because I've heard Airbnb will ban you if you have a bad criminal record.
So, no, not for Airbnb.
Yeah, because they have a good system, right? Yeah. They already ban all the people.
And I actually hire out a property management company for my Airbnb. Because I don't want the daily, like, answering questions, having to go back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm actually wondering what because I had a condo in my college town where I went to, and the way that it worked with that property management company was I had to give them the first month of the rent from that year, and then I got the 11 months after that. Is that a pretty standard? Did I get screwed, or was that a pretty standard?
No, for long-term rentals it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you had to put up all 12 months?
No. So like I owned the property. Yeah. I rented it out.
Yeah.
The property management company handled dealing with all the renters, all the everything. Yeah. They received January's rent, and then I got February through December.
Oh, so
their payment was receiving the first month of that year's rent.
Right. And did you pay monthly
nope.
fees? Oh, okay. Then that's really good.
Oh, nice.
Because typically they usually charge you like the first month's rent to like place the tenant. So they have to do a bunch of tenant screening, like background checks and interviews and things like that, walkthroughs. But and then after that, they usually charge you like between 10 to 20% a month.
So you got a good deal.
Yeah, rent. I'll take it. Sweet.
Zasha, what's next for you, and where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at investwithzasha.com or Instagram. I answer my messages. I check that. I love that app at Invest with Zasha. What's next for me is we just started a $50 million fund that we're investing in debt and equity deals in commercial real estate. So RV parks, storage buildings, apartment buildings, multifamily, things like that. I've partnered with a few other people, and so we're taking that head on because it's going to be a long road. This market is definitely a little bit of a roller coaster, especially in the single family space. So,
do you think it bottomed yet?
No.
Oh.
When will it?
Who knows? That's
I want you to know.
I think maybe in a year or so. I feel like right now with them playing with the interest rates and pausing and then going back up, it's got people a little skittish, but it'll soon. I think it happened so fast that we're yet to see the actual implications of it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. I learned a lot about real estate in Hawaii. We got to go out to Maui.
Yeah, and real estate.
Yeah.
And next time you hear about some $900 acres for sale in Hawaii, you're gonna hit us up, right?
Hit us up.
Yes,
We'll
yeah,
talk
I'm always
now.
looking for lenders.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.